Well, hi there. Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. That's right. It's Free for All Friday here on the Pondering Radio Show. Yes, and the crowd goes wild. All right. Thank you. That's right. It's Friday, and it's the Pondering Show, and you are here with me. I appreciate that. Appreciate you joining us. Welcome to all of you, to Susie, to Wayne, to anybody I've missed. I'm sure there are others I don't see, and I'm glad you're popping in. What is this pondering thing, you may ask? Well, I'm glad you asked because it gives me a chance to explain it. Pondering is a show where we ponder. We think about stuff. We don't just swallow whole what the media feeds us, because we see that is disastrous. And if there's ever been a time in human history, American history at least, where we could look and see how what the media feeds us destroys us, this would be the time. We don't do that. We think about it, we talk about it, and we do so from an unabashedly, unashamedly, and yes, boldly, unapologetically Christian perspective. We do this Monday through Friday, 7:30 to 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and you can participate as so many are as we speak. Sarah, Linda, others, thank you for being with us. You can participate in the live feed here on Facebook. You can type right into the live stream your comments and thoughts and ideas, or you can call us and leave a message if we're not here. 860-500-7163 is the number. 860-500-7163. You can email ponderingradio@gmail.com. You can hire a skywriter. You can send me a singing telegram. I don't care. However, we love to hear from you. And there are no holds barred in terms of topics on the show, especially today is Free for All Friday. That's right, Free for All Friday, where anything goes. The topics, they just flows. You can bring up whatever's on your mind and heart, whatever you've been thinking about, questions, comments, Bible verses, whatever you want to throw at me. I'm ready. Hit me with your best shot, baby. Here we go. That's Friday. Again, Free for All Friday, and that means you drive the bus. I don't have guests on Friday. I don't do specific topics on Friday. Friday is up to the audience, up to the troops, which would be you. So bring it. Bring it on. And while you're thinking about what to type or what to comment or what to call about or whatever you're going to do, let me just quickly say this weekend, we're excited to announce that our sponsor, Lifeway Church, will be reopening its doors. We will have live and in-person services for the first time in several months due to the COVID-19 restrictions, which are now being lifted. We will have two services, 9:30 and 11:15. Of course, they'll still be live streamed, still be recorded and available on demand later on our YouTube channel, as well as lifewaych.com or our Lifeway Church Facebook page. But we will have people, actual human beings, in our building. 9:30 and 11:15 a.m. You can register for that at lifewaych.com. You say, why do you want me to register? Well, only because we're trying to be respectful of guidelines, but also help people feel safe and comfortable coming back by taking some precautions, wearing masks and having social distancing and having seating designed to keep, a 6-foot distance between folks or families. So that, people can come in and enjoy it and feel safe. We'll have a certain flow in terms of entrance and exit, and there won't be food served. There are a number of things that'll be different because of just trying to ease back into this without people feeling afraid or being at risk. And they won't be. I'll just tell you that. Absolutely will not. There is no risk. I guess you can never say there's no risk in this world. A random coronavirus could be floating along on a leaf somewhere and land on your nose and infect you in the middle of nowhere, I suppose. But that's probably very, very unlikely, unless you're someone who always wins the lottery. Just you're the 1/100th of 1 million person that gets, the things. You get struck by lightning every time you go out in a storm, whatever. Chances are good that you're not going to have any risk whatsoever if you're 6 feet away from people with a mask on. That's from everything we know. of coronavirus. That just ain't going to happen, baby. So if you want to come and join us Sunday, we would love to see you in person. Again, 9:30, 11:15 a.m., 2172 Berlin Turnpike in Newington. If you have questions, call 860-436-9216. That's the church office number, 860-436-9216. And we'd be happy to help you out there, baby. All right, so, yeah, Linda says, yeah. Wayne says, good morning to all fellow ponderers. Jason's with us. Good morning to Jason. So hit me, guys. What you got on your mind? I want to know. What do you want to talk about? Give me a topic. Give me a verse. Give me a Bible question. Zing me with something, and I'll make up an answer if I don't know. Now, one thing I learned early on in ministry was it's okay to say I don't know. You know, people feel like you got to have all the answers. And I grew up in a denominational setting where that was the case. Pastor had to have answers on everything, and on every topic too, not just Bible, topics, but any subject. And guys they'd wing it, man. We had these Bible studies, I remember, where you'd come into a room with a group of people, and we'd pass a box around, and everybody got a little slip of paper to write out their Bible study questions. And you could do it anonymously, or you could sign your name. Most people just did, anonymous or whatever. And then they'd be in the box, they'd shake up the box, they'd set it down. There'd be one or two pastors up front, and you have to pull one out of the box and then read it and answer it. And it was almost like a charades or something, You get this thing and you got to respond to it if you have no idea what they're talking about. And I don't want to paint it too radically. I mean, I think people blatantly lied, but there was this pressure to have an answer. I mean, let's be real here, right? So I will tell you if I don't know. I won't make something up, I promise. But I would love it if you would throw out a couple of those things, or news items you want me to discuss, maybe something we missed this week, and going through the daily, the sort of the crisis du jour via the news. It is Juneteenth, I think it's called, the 19th of June. This is now a new holiday where we're celebrating not just the Emancipation Proclamation in 1863, but the release of the final holdouts in Texas, where the president and the federal government sent a delegation to Texas to read them the proclamation and say, listen, guys, you need to set these people free. And so it was kind of the end of the holdouts from emancipation of slavery, and therefore it's become a point of celebration, and I think now more than ever because of racial tension. And I've got no problem with that. I think the problem with, in my view, celebrating the Emancipation Proclamation or June 19th and what happened in Texas is that people forget the whole picture of that history. And because they've forgotten it, or it's been rewritten and taught inappropriately, or just not really, other than what I just said, that it was the last holdout in Texas and the final group of slaves being set free, people don't know the backstory. And so assumptions are made, and frankly, lies are perpetuated. One of the big ones is which group of people supported the freedom of the slaves in Texas and elsewhere, and which party fought to maintain control and ownership of human beings, and which party continued that beat and that march against freedom for African Americans, not just for a few years after the Emancipation Proclamation. It wasn't the Republican Party and President Lincoln in particular were the ones saying, hey, this is wrong, we've got to change. The Democrats were the ones saying, no, we're going to maintain slavery and fight for it, and they did. In fact, right up until recently, and I've talked about this on the show, where Senator Robert Byrd, who passed away a few years ago, was a Grand Marshal, head of the KKK, and celebrated, held up as just this wonderful man at his funeral. And I remember, again, Vice President Biden speaking at his funeral. Hillary Clinton spoke at his funeral. Hillary Clinton referred to him as her mentor. This was an evil man, and his party supported slavery, and I would argue still does in their policies to keep people dependent and held down under government rule. And that's not a popular position, but I would argue it's factual. Yeah, we should celebrate today, but we should be honest about the whole picture of what happened and what's still happening to some degree. And I'm not saying that there aren't racists in the Republican Party, but I'm sure there are racists everywhere. We say the police force is racist. Well, I don't think policemen are racist, but are there racists in the police force of thousands of officers across the country? I'm sure there are. They're probably in every walk of life of people like that, but they're not the majority. And honestly, if you want to pick a party to be upset about or to celebrate today, you probably should celebrate the Republican Party, who historically was behind the freeing of the slaves. And fighting for freedom also long after that, through the riots and protests of the 50s and 60s, right up until modern day. So I think we just, I'm all about it, but let's just be honest about the whole picture and not celebrate the wrong group of folks, I guess is what I'm getting at. All right, and I'm not a Republican, you know that, I guess, most of you. I'm an independent, I'm a conservative, but it just cracks me up to see, sort of the tables turn and oppression continue in a different form, and people are still supporting this party, that was always about holding back folks and deferring to control and power vested in the government now, but, in the political and economic leadership of its time, which at that time was the Deep South, plantations, etc. So, yeah, celebrate the day, but let's complete the history. All right, hit me with some other stuff. Jennifer says, what is your go-to verse to share with healthcare workers? Ooh, that's a great question. So, it sounds, I suppose, trite in a way, but I use Psalm 23 a lot. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, right? I will fear no evil. Now, it's good at face value to say that, but you have to go deeper, I suppose, too, with someone if you're talking to them and say that, look, I don't believe this means that God is guaranteeing that none of us will get sick, none of us will face death. We know that happens. But here's the good news. We fear no evil because even in death, we have life. Jesus told Nicodemus that he who lives and he that believes in me will never die, ultimately, right? But he will live even if he dies. There'll be this eternal life, this constancy of existence by faith. And it's not just being conscious, it's being at peace, being with him, being filled with light and joy because you're with him in his presence in heaven. So, I would use it, but I would talk about the big picture, which is from the apostles forward, people have faced death and all kinds of horrific ways of getting there. But they had no fear because they knew that even in death, there was life and life eternal and life filled with joy, et cetera, et cetera. What allows the Christians who are facing torment today in other countries, Muslim countries, where they're often beheaded and whatever, what allows them to stand in faith? The promise and the understanding that this life is temporary anyway. And if God wants them, wants to allow them to be taken, their lives to be taken, they will instantly be with him and they won't care, right? They're not going to be standing at the pearly gates going, send me back. No, they're going to be fine right there. And so there's no fear, even though we walk through the valley of shadow of death. So, I would use it in a very high level sense. And then if someone wanted to counsel further, like, well, what about the people that are good people who died of corona, good people who get sick in this way? Well, again, we don't have fear because we know what comes next. Wayne says Republican Party for freedom. Yeah, that's right. I know people just often don't see that, but it's historically that's been the case. Now, I will add quickly that one of the reasons I'm not a Republican is because that I believe that there's not much difference between the two parties these days. That the Republicans have become, at least in terms of the established Republican Party, pretty wishy-washy, pretty, um, I don't know what phrase to use. They're just Laodicean, They don't really stand for much of anything. And when push comes to shove, they'll back down. Um, and they might bluster and puff out their chests at election time. We're going to do this, that, and the other thing. But I mean, just look at President Trump. What support has he received from the Republican Party since he started? And again, to me, it's about policy, not personality. His policies have been sound, but he's had to fight for every inch, and even against his own party. So, yes, historically, Republicans were about freedom financially and racially and in every way, but they've become kind of I don't know, lukewarm in the last 20 years or so. So anyway, thought we should be honest about that too, shall we? Right? That's kind of the way it works around here on Pondering. By the way, just programming note, today at about 10 after, I will be joining Gary Byron on the Talk of Connecticut, WDRC, and other stations in that network. I know there's several of them through the state. And he wants to interview me. I'm not sure about what. I assume it's about June 19th, but we'll see. We're going to talk about whatever Gary has on his mind, which is always a little bit of a crapshoot, What's he going to zing me with? But pray that I give the right, truthful, loving answers, right, to whatever questions or whatever discussion we may have. And you are welcome to tune in if you like, and I'm sure it'll be reposted at some point too. A lot of times he'll send me a link to the recording of it, and I can repost it, and I'll do that on the Pondering Radio page if he does give me that. Okay, be later today though, I'm sure. Wayne says, back in the day, my people are just, for lack of a better word, ignorant, which means not knowing, lack of correct knowledge. But to use that as an excuse is lame. Yeah, well, bless you, brother. And here's the thing. I get mad at the press. Having somewhat of a journalism background way back in the day, a little bit, I know what the rules are supposed to be, and they're breaking all of them now. And they have fed those lies to your people and to all people, but in particular to your people now for 50 years or more. And it's gotten worse in the last couple decades, I grant that, but it's amazing. Here's an example. Okay, who is more hated in the black community and in the Democratic in the Democrat Party in general, outside of the black community, than Donald Trump? I mean, he is the personification of evil right now. I mean, just the mention of his name or wearing a "Make America Great Again" hat could get you beat up, insulted, thrown out of a restaurant, whatever, right? Okay, and I think we all see that. Prior to his election, there are numerous photos and videos of him hanging out with people like Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, because he used to contribute to Black scholarship funds and other organizations, and they would, all be sitting together on the dais and hugging and shaking hands and high-fiving each other. The Clintons, he multiple times, multiple appearances with them, and personal events that they were inviting him to. Everybody loved him. They wanted him. He was a celebrity, and he was rich. And so, if you hung out with him, you could maybe get a donation because he was pretty generous. He gave to Republicans, he gave to Democrats, he gave to black organizations, he gave to other minority groups. He was just a generous guy. I've talked to people who have done work for him. Some of you in the audience know Ray Charpentier. Ray, for many, many years, was in the lighting business, and he would design lighting fixtures and installations, some of them huge, that were signs, lighted signs and so forth. And Ray told me a story about doing some work for Donald Trump down in the city where, as I'll try to recreate the story here to the best of my memory, but what I recall was Trump said, I want to bid on this, putting in these lights for a resort. I forget where it was. And Ray gave him a bid along with others. And Trump liked Ray's bid. And He said, okay, so that's what it's going to cost me to get it done, and you're saying you can have it done in a month. Again, I'm just pulling this out of air because I don't remember the details. And Ray said, that's right. And Donald Trump said, okay, now what it'll cost me if I got to have it done in 2 weeks because I'm in a rush, and I'll pay whatever. Okay, I like you. Tell me what it's going to cost to get it done faster. With overtime and everything else, you just come back to me with that. So Ray did the crunch the numbers, came back, and it was significantly more money because he had to pay, overtime and whatever to get that thing done or hire more people and to rush it. And Trump looked it over and said, fine, let's do it. And so they just went crazy, man. They got the parts and they just went in there and they worked around the clock and they busted their butts and got the thing done. And it was really, spotless. It looked really sharp. And so when it was finished, Ray called him and said, hey, it's done. And instead of just having someone come out and look it over or whatever before they paid the bill, Trump said, well, could you make sure that everyone that's worked on the project is here on this date? I'd like to come and see them. And so, again, not a flunky, but Donald Trump himself showed up. And Ray said he walked up and down the line of all the workers because all the people that Ray had hired and his own team and crew were all lined up there along the walkway where the lights were. And Trump apparently went down the row, shaking hands with every single one of them, asking about their life, their family, thanking them for working hard and going the extra mile to get this done for him. Every single person individually, he thanked them. And Ray just was moved by that. He said, I've never had, a client do that before. They were all well paid and they were well thanked and appreciated. So he was well loved until he became president. Now he is suddenly overnight. Think about this. And if you look back and you watch old videos or YouTube, you'll see that I'm not making this stuff up. Suddenly he becomes president. He's a bigot. He's a racist. He's a warmonger. He's vile. He's a sexual, misogynistic jackass. I mean, you name it. They've called him worse. So, wow, he got elected and something changed. He went from being the celebrity that everybody wanted around them, hugging Jesse Jackson, everybody wants his money, to being the personification of evil, the devil incarnate, right? Don't fall for this. That's not true. The reason they hate him, folks, is the same reason I say I support him. Not because of personality, but because of policy. The policies of Donald Trump are why the Democratic Party summoned the Republican Party and the media carte blanche. I mean, in almost in its entirety, hate, and want to absolutely destroy Donald Trump, his family, his children, everything about him. Why people will write tell-all books and make up stuff. By the way, lots of testimonies come out in the last couple of days showing that this latest tell-all book is filled with lies. A testimony from people that were in the room when these things were supposedly said, saying that is not at all what was said. Some of these people have no skin in the game, meaning they're not even employed by the government anymore, or certainly not in the Trump administration, so they have no reason to lie. Why do people write this stuff and do these things? Policy, policy, policy. They hate his policies. And so they demonize him. So I just think, again, lessons of history, and to Wayne's comment, there's a lot of ignorance out there, but it's been fed consistently, and I would say systematically and intentionally fed to the black community for decades. And there are a few out there, voices standing up and saying, hey, time out, enough already, we've got to stop believing this stuff. We've got to stop promoting this, and we've got to stop getting sucked in so that, we suffer for it. And that's the truth. So thank you for that, Wayne. He's got group. Yeah, have a great weekend to you too, my brother. God bless you. All right, got a couple more minutes. You got anything else there? Ponderers, hit me. I mean, if you want to talk about what you're doing on the weekend, whatever's on your mind, it's okay. We're open here. We're flexible. It's Friday. TGIF already. We get to have a little different change of pace this weekend, which will be nice. I still have to work a bit, but generally Saturdays are a little easier for me. Even if I do a little work, I have to go out on a visit in the morning to a nursing facility, but it's not a long visit. It's mainly for staff. I go early and catch the third shift and the first shift coming in, and just tell them we love them and we're there for them and pray for them, and give them some devotional books and stuff like that. So I give out daily breads. Maybe you know the daily bread. And sometimes I'll buy them donuts or munchkins and just set up a table so when they come in or go out, they can grab them. I, of course, pray over them to supernaturally have God remove all the cholesterol, carbohydrates, sugar, and fat. But it still tastes like a donut. You know, that's the miracle right there. So one look at me proves that I am so full of it when I say that. But nonetheless, I don't eat a lot of donuts, though. Once in a blue moon, I'll have a donut. But I like giving out stuff because it's fun. So I'll probably do that in the morning. But otherwise, the day's kind of, you know, I'm going to work on the pool a little bit. We got a pool for the kids, and I'm going to sit in that if it's hot and do some work on cleaning it up a bit. And, you know, I think the grandkids are coming over for Father's Day. We're having a barbecue. So, and by the way, since we won't be on the air Sunday, happy Father's Day to all of our dads out there, spiritual dads, physical dads, granddads. Never, ever in our history as a country has it been more important to have a biblical view, a truth-based view of fatherhood and what it really entails. One of the primary causes of devastation in our nation today is the lack of solid biblical manhood and fatherhood. We either have no fathers engaged and involved in the lives of children, or we have fathers who are abusive, and I don't just mean physically violent, I mean abusive in the sense of neglect, in the sense of thinking that the old saying is true, the only difference between the men and the boys is the cost of their toys, so that, you know, the fathers are simply all about themselves and buying boats and doing their own thing, and their kids end up, you know, being raised by mom or just on their own, fending for themselves in the house. It is time to recapture a biblical view of headship and fathership. And I don't mean that in a misogynistic way. It just means that men are supposed to take responsibility as the spiritual priests of their home, set the tone in terms of prayer and studying the Word of God. And yes, you know, being obedient, etc. Those things are all part of the plan of God. And we need to get back to that. And so for the fathers that are getting back to that or striving to, God bless you and thank you. And happy, happy, happy Father's Day. Well, that wraps it up, guys. We are out of time. I don't think I missed any comments, but if I did, Sarah says, donuts, I agree. So have yourself a donut today. Celebrate. Happy Friday. Happy June 19th or Juneteenth. And happy Father's Day to our dads and spiritual dads out there. We'll be back Monday morning, 7:30 a.m. Tell your friends, neighbors, and complete strangers to join us. We'd love to have more of you engaged in pondering, not checking our brains at the door and not checking our faith at the door on Sunday so that the rest of the week we're on our own, but rather living it out and letting our faith determine all that we think, say, and do, and thinking through everything with the facts and the truth that, as Jesus said, will set us free. Stay in the Word. Keep praying. Keep pondering. God bless you guys. We'll see you Monday morning. Bye for now.